You gonna send me the link? Are we still? We're not gonna put it on Patreon though. Shouldn't they watch it too? Just for okay. Yeah, if you could send the link, or I'll just get the link off YouTube. Yeah, it is. YouTubio.
Start on me.
Yeah.
Let's get a reveal
Let's come
going.
on, Pat.
Wow. Let's
I mean,
what?
start on Pat.
That's insane. I've never heard that. Let's come on, Pat is crazy.
Let's come on, Pat.
Oh, wow, I haven't said it in a while.
I-
Threadheads.
That's what I'm saying.
Threadheads. What it do? This is a live episode for this week. Typically, we go live on our Patreon, which we will be cutting after the first episode and going over to Patreon. So if you're in Patreon, stick with us. Switch over to the Patreon after this. And if you're not on Patreon, why don't you just sign up? Come hang out with us.
Yep.
We got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. We have a gaming tier. Of course, we have the podcast tier, and we have a We Trippin' tier with exclusive, never before seen footage from when we travel.
Yep. I'm putting it on Patreon right now.
And not only that, we're IRL streaming now.
We sure are.
We are IRL now.
Yeah.
We tried it out on DreamCon. We got a great reception. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Yeah, you got to follow us on Twitch. We streamers now. Steph is a streamer.
Yay. It's really good, too.
You went IRL at the radio station.
Yes.
92.3 The Beat.
Wow. So you go with the old one.
I mean, that's
They
how I
changed
know
it. It's kind of like the Fox Hills Mall. Like 92.3 The Beat is Fox Hills Mall. But
Pretty niche.
the Westfield Shopping Center
It's
is
pretty niche.
Real 92.3.
I wonder how many of our
iHeart
listeners
Radio.
actually understand this. I wonder how many people are in LA as opposed to anywhere else in the world.
Right. I mean, Real 92 is like the most
crypto.
popular, you know?
92.3 is like crypto. That's LA too.
Yes.
And 92.3 The Beat is Staples.
Right.
The Staples Center.
Right.
Also an
That's
LA
exact-
reference. I wish I could
Because
do
we
something
don't
a
really
little more
know.
global.
I don't know any name changes from other states. Like, has something changed in New York, Miami? I'm only thinking of the most
Yeah,
popular.
we're just
town.
gonna have to bear with us. We only have LA references. Our whole lives is revolves around California. But
Yep.
welcome to the episode. I think we're doing some conspiracy theories today.
Yes.
We got some conspiracy. We got some funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a custom conspiracy theory that I'd like to open the show with.
You've created one?
I got one.
Oh, snappers.
So, hopefully I say the right one. Do you like astrology?
Yes.
That's Capricorn, Virgo.
Yes.
Okay, not astronomy. Astrology.
You're the only one who doesn't know the difference between
I do know the difference. I just said the right one. Isn't it weird? It's weird. Like, what do you mean? A nigga that was born the same month as me has my personality traits.
Uh-oh.
That's strange, right? Like,
You about to tick some people off.
you were born in this period of the year, even though you're decades apart,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys have similar personality traits.
You know what I think? It's the weather. The weather, the environment. I wonder if certain environments,
Oh, 'cause
when
it's
you're
colder?
pregnant in certain environments, does it have anything to do with when you're born?
Well, that can't be true because people live in completely different environments, but they're still the same sign. You could live in Mexico where it doesn't get that cold in the winter and be born in December, and also be born in Finland and it's freezing. I don't know if Finland's cold. I assumed.
Is it?
A cold place.
I think it could be.
A cold
I think
place in
because it's
Europe.
like it's Greenland and I'm thinking of Greenland and Iceland.
Just one
and
of those
they're like
cold-ass
opposites, right?
European countries. I feel like a December birth in there is a completely different weather than somebody who's born in like a tropical
Do
spot.
they go off of the same like astrological readings as someone here?
I would assume. You think
I don't know.
everything in astrology, within astrology and traits is American?
I no, because didn't it? I think they have like Chinese, like like everything is it kind of differs in
Okay, well,
different
just
areas.
American. I
So
mean, you could talk about somebody who was born in December in L.A. versus in New York, where it's
I
freezing.
I don't know. So I think that I don't know that much about the signs and their personality traits. However, Virgo, right? We're both Virgos.
Hmm.
I have seen and fit into a pretty general description of Virgos. And then I'll look at
Sure.
other signs and I'm like, do I fit into those? And a lot of them I actually don't. But there are some where I'm like, oh, okay, I could be this moon sign, sun, rising.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Different houses. It sounds like Harry Potter
Yeah.
after a while. But I think that's where it gets impressive to me. When you
Mhm.
scratch the surface, it sounds like BS. Like, you're a Virgo? Oh, you laugh when you're happy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's everybody. But
Mhm.
I have friends that are like really deep into it. Some of my good friends actually teach courses. So when they go like super deep into it in the charts, that's when I'm like, all right, that's a little scary.
Mhm.
That's pretty spot on. So here's my conspiracy theory. What if humans were just like a little science project, right? Okay, CIA's on to me.
Mhm.
What if humans were a little science project, right?
Mhm.
And Virgo, Capricorn, all those little time periods we were born in was just the vials and the containers that we were in.
Mm.
So like there were how many signs are there? 12? No, that's
Mhm.
that's impossible. That means the
Isn't
sign would
it?
change every month.
It does.
Every month? Oh, every 22
Yeah.
days, right?
Yeah.
So 12
What?
canisters, 12 little, the little science beakers.
Mhm.
What if we were just all in the same beaker and that's why we were similar?
But we aren't.
Huh?
But we're not similar.
We're both Virgos.
Yeah, but you're a Virgo man, and I'm a Virgo woman.
Well, yeah,
And
men and women
those-
are probably in different beakers.
Yeah, we definitely in
One got to
different
make a
beakers.
vagina and one got to
Because
make balls. and
Virgo
stuff.
man beaker.
What's that mean?
You guys are kind of hated.
Are we?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I feel like anytime a sign comes up, there's a group of people who hate them. Just like,
Mhm.
oh, a Gemini, huh? Oh,
Everybody
a
loves
Scorpio.
Virgo women.
I mean, I guess.
Who doesn't love a Virgo woman?
I haven't polled it.
I don't know. I do know. Yeah, y'all got a pretty bad rap, Virgo men. But I've seen some similarities, and I'm like, and I'm not even into astrology like that, so
Mhm.
it's kind of crazy to see some of the similarities. But when you go into it, I don't knock anybody's thing, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm such a skeptic with a lot of stuff.
Mm.
So I just look at it and I'm like, this is entertaining. So I look
Mhm.
at a lot of stuff as entertaining.
Speaking of entertaining, you sidestepped the whole conspiracy theory. All right, well, let's just move on. Let me know
No,
what
I
you guys
didn't.
think about my
I
theory.
don't know where to go with us being in beakers.
Let me know if I'm onto something, guys. I think our astrology sign has something to do with the lab we were made in. Okay. Let's get to these let's get to these fun facts.
Sorry, bad.
All right. I got okay. You go with the fact.
Okay,
first.
mine is pretty depressing.
Oh, okay. Well,
You ready?
sure.
In 19th century Louisiana, black women in state prisons were often locked in cells with men, with no separation by gender. Many became pregnant behind bars under the brutal and dehumanizing conditions, but the horror didn't end there. In 1848, Louisiana passed a law declaring that all children born to incarcerated black women were property of the state. These babies were forced to stay in prison with their mothers until they turned 10 years old. At 10, these children were auctioned off by the state, sold like property. The government treated them as assets and not lives. Families were torn apart in a system designed to profit from black suffering. These profits from these child auctions were used to fund public schools for white children. In other words, black children were sold to financially support institutions that black people were barred from accessing.
Wow. You're not in a very fun mood today, are you?
What?
Jesus Christ.
This is one of the deepest facts that
It's pretty deep.
I've read in a long time, and I was just
Pretty
like,
deep. It's pretty sad.
yes.
Damn.
It's horrid. It's horrid. Look, I'm bringing black history, okay? No matter how freaking horrible it may be, we got to talk about it.
Sheesh.
But can you just imagine being locked up with women?
No, I can't.
It's like
I just saw an interview about
the scent.
the smell.
The fragrance.
The smell of a women's prison. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's I'm sure it doesn't smell great in men's prison too, but there was specific interviews, and you mentioned it too, but there's specific interviews about guards saying that it took about 6 to 8 months to get used to
Let me tell you something.
punch in the face that the smell was.
That is exactly what it is. When we walked in, so I said this in a private conversation, but when I was getting my degree in criminal justice, we had to take a tour of the women's jail. I don't think it was prison, it was jail, women's jail. And when we walked in, it like hit you like a ton of bricks. It smelled like a fish market, a raw fish market. And I was just like,
as opposed to a cooked fish.
I'd much rather smell cooked fish.
I think I would too.
But it was so bad that my eyes started watering.
Damn.
And we talked about it, like some of us, and the guards were like, "Oh, y'all think this is something? This is nothing. We just had deep cleaning.
Oh,
so this is the best it smells." And I'm just like, what are the conditions like in there to where these women aren't able to flush this? Because that was some like lingering.
Insane. That's horrifying.
It was definitely something that told me never break the law.
Man.
Because I can't imagine. Your nose hairs would have to burn off for you to get comfortable.
I'm sure they don't have the red like the best hygiene resources. I would be surprised if the prison was really on top of that. So that's really sad. I feel like nobody should have to deal with that.
Nobody should have to smell that.
I think a fish smells bad in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
This is fish tank.
This is a fish tank.
This
like
is
turtle tanks?
This is a caged cat.
Trick.
The cat in the wild smells better than a caged cat.
A caged cat. A little feral.
All right, so I had to switch my fact up. I'm gonna lighten the
Lighten the mood. Oh, yours was kind of deep too.
No, it was just more interesting than. I mean, both of these are interesting, but I think I got two back-to-back bangers that are real quick.
Okay.
Right? Speaking of caged cat, this fact is about wetness. All right, so
what?
So humans, we can't actually sense wetness. We can only sense temperature and pressure.
So is this going back to is water wet?
No. Let me just get through this. So we can't sense wetness. We can only sense temperature and pressure. So the trippy thing is that our concept of wetness is a perceptual illusion. So our brain creates this based on our prior experiences with stimuli that we have learned are wet. So every time we feel something that's wet, I think that's why we cringe, because we just think of all our past experiences with stuff that's wet, but we can't really sense how wet something is.
I don't know about this. I don't believe this.
I have.
Okay, so let's get into it then.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking last time I was sensing wetness. Let's get into it.
How are these senses? Like, I put water in my hair, and my hair changed from being dry to.
Check this out.
And what's happening?
So now I'm touching this water, right? I guess I can't really tell how wet this water is, but I'm thinking about the last time I was in some wetness, and I don't understand this.
I don't understand it either. I'm trying.
I don't understand
because
this.
it's like
A perceptual illusion.
Now I will say
based
this:
on prior experiences with stimuli.
temperature, I get.
Yeah, of course. Because
I get the temperature because, or if like you sit on a seat and it's cold, sometimes you can't tell if it's just cold or if it's wet, and you have to get up to say, because you'll sit down. If it's cold, you'll sit down and be like, "Oh shit, is it? Did I just sit in something wet?" And then you look down and it's just cold. So in that
or
case,
like when your sock get wet and you don't know how wet it is. I'm trying.
if you step in something cold, you might think that you stepped in something wet.
Right.
So I can understand temperature, but you said pressure, right?
Temperature and pressure. Yeah.
Now the pressure part is what I don't understand. I get like
Ain't that getting sucked?
I get like when you go into the ocean and you start to go deeper into the ocean,
like
the
that.
weight of the water gets heavier. So I understand that pressure, but in a sense of you just touch that water right there.
Or swimming. We can't sense the wetness. It's a perceptual illusion that we create based on our prior experiences with stimuli.
Tell my black hair that. I put my hair in some water and that shit is like poof.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But also it's like when you're submerged in water, I don't think you're just like I'm in water. Like you
actually don't feel it.
You don't. Okay, I think this is the difference. Pressure goes high and low.
Yeah.
Temperature goes high and low. So if you're in water and it's hot, you feel how hot it is or you feel how cold it is. But you don't really feel the level of wetness.
What I will say is, ding, when you get in the pool and you're in the pool for a good amount of time, right? Say you're in the pool for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out of the pool, I feel like I weigh 100 pounds
But that's
heavier.
A result.
But
that's a result of being in water. That's
that's
not like
pressure. That's a pressure release. So if I'm in water, the pressure changes because now, let's take boobs, for example, right?
Okay.
Right now, they hanging. They just sitting, they just hanging.
Swinging and hanging.
Swinging and hanging. I feel the heaviness of them. I feel the pressure it's putting on my shoulders. Okay. When I step into a pool, when the boobs touch the water, they float. It takes all of the pressure
you're still talking about pressure.
Away from everything. So that's what I'm saying. I'm starting to understand the pressure of water, of wetness.
Oh, I thought we already what?
I understood the temperature, and I've been processing like
you're still
how
on
pressure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but I just don't understand. I understand the effects. I don't understand how they can say we don't, like, it's a mental construct or I don't. I still feel the wetness.
You feel it, but I think that you don't sense it the same way that you sense temperature and pressure. You know, we can sense low pressure, low temperature, high temperature, high pressure. We understand and we can feel the difference and we can sense the difference. I don't think when we're in water there's a high or low. It's not like, man, this pool is hella wet, or like, damn, this pool ain't as wet as the last time I went swimming. So that's the only way I can process it. There's no meter of it. It's just like once a part of you was wet, you wet. But the perceptual illusion is what trips me out.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if I put some water in my hand, it's not that the water's in my hand. Like my hand is wet.
But it's not saying it's not wet. Mm-hmm. It's saying our concept of wetness is an illusion.
That's what
we don't sense it.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Food for thought.
I was following, and then I got lost right at the end.
My other one is just one sentence. There's really no way to process this. So, cheese existed before written language.
Cheese tastes like.
I mean, I'm sure it was awful. Everything ancient food wise was probably awful. But I think what's trippy to me is that a nigga figured out drinking milk, which makes sense. Animals do it, we do it, we get it. But a nigga took an animal's, I don't know if it was a cow or a goat, but a nigga took an animal's milk, made it rot, and ate it before niggas was like, here, this is what I'm talking about. Like, niggas ate cheese before figuring out how to write each other. That's insane to me.
That's crazy. Hey, think about the first person to, like, cook food, to use fire for cooking.
So good.
Oh, I bet you
I've never had raw meat, but I can only imagine how much better cooked meat is. That nigga had hoes. It's probably a woman.
I was just about to say, why wouldn't it be a woman?
But I mean, when I think
but women
about that,
probably weren't starting the fires. You think women were starting the fires back then?
I don't think anybody started the fire. Niggas talk about the invention of fire like a nigga put the elements together. God showed them lightning. That's what I think happened. I think there was a lightning storm.
They didn't they have to start
figure it
fires?
out.
Yeah.
Right, but they saw it first. You know, they probably saw a damn lightning bolt hit a tree. And then went up to it and was like, God damn, this feels good. It probably started as warmth.
You know what it was? An animal probably got burnt. And somebody found it while it was burning and was like, I mean, I'm hungry.
I could see that.
And then ate it and was like, hey, yo, yummy.
This shit kind of got a smoke. They're like,
Yeah.
damn, don't waste it, don't waste it. Damn, this shit hitting. Got a little hickory to it.
What if it was their, like, pet? It was their pet and it accidentally fell in. It was like, no.
You know what's crazy?
Like, you know what?
This information probably exists everywhere.
I'm sure.
But I think thinking about how it happened is way more fun.
Yeah. We can look it up later.
Yeah.
But I did like the process of coming up with my own
There's a lot of things that I don't understand how anybody would even think to do it. Like, what the hell made Ben Franklin fly a key? Put a key on a kite and just be like, I'm about to change the world. Like, nigga, that probably look crazy.
Our minds work mysteriously.
But at the end of the day, cheese was before written language. Cheese before text.
See, we processed that.
I mean, that makes sense. But it also kind of doesn't.
What if, oh shit, Pat, what if they accidentally made the cheese and was like, this is good. And then lightning struck a deer, cooked the deer, and it fell in the cheese. And they ate the deer meat with the cheese and was
You talking about the first queso dip?
Yo!
And that was all before they wrote anything down.
All before they wrote anything. They was just like, I bet you that's how it happened. Can you imagine?
More caveman stuff.
It's fun thinking about caveman stuff. And
Because, I mean,
women.
you know how tired the nigga who made the wheel was? He was like, I'm not carrying none of this shit.
That's
I think, you know what my theory is? I think that niggas was just rolling things on logs before the wheel. Because if you push some stuff on a series of logs, you can probably, you know, it's like a little roller. And then they're just like, but it stays back. What if the logs came with us? I think that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Can't prove it.
I mean, and then you can make multiple wheels off of one log, you know? So then they're like, oh,
Right.
we can carry
They're
a
like,
whole bunch of stuff.
The wheel should go with the thing we're carrying.
And then
I
they
think-
already made like little baskets and stuff. So they just attached the baskets to the wheels, and now you got wagons.
I see it so vividly. I feel like I did this, you know? I feel like
you
I
might
am
have if you
I am
believe in
the-
reincarnation.
I'm the great, like great a million times grandson of the inventor of the wheel and fire and cooking.
The inventor of the
and,
wheel. Wow.
The bow and arrow.
The bow and arrow. So you just threw that in there.
I think I did all that stuff. That's crazy entitlement. All right. Let's go with yours first. We're already doing theories.
Okay.
If we even get to mine, actually.
Okay. Well, I have a little baby thread of disturbing theories that are banned from discussion. Now, nothing is really banned from discussion, but
Casual discussion or like
Yeah.
official discussion?
man, who knows?
Just discussion. Okay.
Yeah. Because this first one we talk about all the time.
I was about to say.
Number 5, the Mandela effect
Oh yeah.
is intentional. Instead of false memory, what if the Mandela effect is the result of subtle timeline edits? Some claim it's a part of a large-scale reality manipulation project, one that's tested through small memory inconsistencies to monitor control. So it's like that Black Mirror episode, right? Where she had the necklace, and she actually was able to change, people's. I feel like that. I feel like they could be onto something with that because, and of course, the most popular of this is Richard Simmons. There's absolutely no way that my brain put a headband on him. There's no way that he never wore a headband. That's crazy.
I have a confession.
What?
This will only come at a surprise to people who have been watching me talk specifically for a long time. I have been lying. I don't believe in that shit at all. I think it's
What do you
just a
mean?
really fun conversation.
What?
I don't believe that at all.
So
First
you
of all,
think so did you ever look at the Richard Simmons one?
I've seen all of them.
Did you ever see him with a headband?
Look, I think it's a really, really fun topic, but have you ever seen 90% of niggas tell a story? They always remember shit wrong. I think that's just what we're doing as a collective. It started
That's crazy though.
It started with Nelson Mandela, a bunch of people being like, "Damn, I thought you died in prison." He's like, "I didn't though."
He didn't die in prison?
No,
What?
he got out of prison and became the president.
I thought he died in prison.
That's why it's called the Mandela effect. A bunch of people thought that he went to prison and died, but his whole not the whole story, but like the coolest part of his story is he went to prison, came out, and became the president of that part of Africa. I forget. But him as a person is probably just like, nigga, I don't care what you remember. I did it. I didn't die in prison.
Right, but have you ever heard of the saying, like, if it's everybody, it isn't everybody, it's you? Have you ever heard of that phrase?
Not
like,
specifically, no. But
okay,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so for a significant amount of people from that era to and on, because I'm not from that era, but I do know every time I saw a picture of him or a video of him,
He was dead.
no, no, I always thought he had on a headband. So when the Mandela effect, when I found out about that, is because I saw like a post that said Richard Simmons never wore a headband, and if you go back and look at all the footage of him, he never wears a headband. And for me to have that many people that
means time travel. That means we're in an alternate universe.
I don't know how to explain it. I guess that's why it's the Mandela effect. Because
it's all kind of all of the examples of it are completely like they're just completely random. I remember reading the Bernstein Bears. I didn't know it was Bernstein Bears. And I'm sure the reason why I remember that is because I was pronouncing it wrong the whole time. And a bunch of people probably also were. I thought Pikachu had black on his tail. The biggest one that trips me out is the
cornucopia.
That one's crazy too. Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah,
I remember that, and I remember the Monopoly Man having a monocle.
Yes,
they didn't.
That's the crazy thing.
But
how do we have those? How do we all collectively have those memories
if the Bernstein Bears
exist?
If you look back and you're like, and they were foxes all of a sudden, you're like, damn, I thought they were bears. Nah, that's just what we all thought. Or if Richard Simmons was an Asian woman. That would be an alternate reality to me. No. I don't see us shifting to a reality where the nigga has a headband and the Monopoly Man change. That to me makes no sense.
But it's subtle changes. So those are subtle.
I just think there's some things we remembered wrong.
That's impossible. That's
What you mean?
impossible.
It's more
to
possible
me.
than we're in a different reality where the only
No.
changes is that the fruit of the loom symbol has a cornucopia.
No, I'm
That's
saying
what
it's impossible for a significant amount of the population to remember something one way and be totally wrong about it. That to me is it's just insane. So and there are things that are hard to explain. I mean, we can explain them. Take for example, and I know that we can explain this through scientific, technological language, but I find language to be a wonder of the world. Some of the smallest things that we do, the way that we can talk to each other, I just think when you really sit and think about it, like, oh shit, we can actually talk to each other and understand each other through language. It sounds very simple, but to me, I feel like through our bodies, it's a very complex thing that would, for someone who doesn't know how to do it, would seem impossible. Take phones, for example, video chat, for example. These things, to me, if you couldn't see them, seem impossible.
Yeah.
Just imagine, 200, 300 years ago, somebody saying, yes, in the future, we'll be able to look on screens and talk to each other. They'd be like, you're fucking crazy. That's impossible. That will never be able to happen. And now we're looking at screens, talking to each other from different parts of the world. Mm-hmm. I feel like without being connected, physically connected. So to me, I feel like with the Mandela effect, it's just something we don't understand yet. Maybe in the future we will. But it's really hard for me to understand, like, okay, all of these people can remember this one thing and be wrong. And it's not something that it's like you have to understand math. You're getting a math equation wrong or something like that. It's something as simple as a cornucopia, a headband,
but that's
a
the
tail.
Thing. People aren't remembering super specific things similarly. It's just a is and isn't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Oh, I thought he had a monocle. He never did. Oh, for some reason I remember a cornucopia and it wasn't there. It wasn't like a super specific
But it's
thing.
Too many people to see the smallest thing that says.
I mean, that could be from a bunch of things. There could have been another underwear thing that had a cornucopia and we just got them
Fruit
mixed
of the
together.
booms. Fruit of the boom.
I just think when you're saying something as wild as we're in an alternate timeline. First of all, if that is true and somebody changed something major in our timeline and the only remnants that there was Kit Kat having a hyphen, good job. You damn near did your job. Because in every movie where somebody changes something small in the future and they come to the present, it'd be like a damn war zone and everything's different. So
this goes back to your conspiracy theory that we were placed in vials.
I have no evidence for that. There's no
but
evidence.
How can you be so against it if that is part of your thinking that we could be in some sort of...
Because there's fun theories and there's theories that's like, damn, this has enough evidence for me to actually believe it. I think that the Mandela is fun because there's so many little pop culture things that we can collectively be like, nah, I didn't remember it like that, or be like, oh, I do remember it like that, So
what's something that could change your mind? What is something that if you saw, what do you think would be able to change your mind to make you say, oh shit, Mandela effect might be a thing?
If somebody came out with proof that 9/11 never happened and it was just all in me and some
simulation.
Of my friends. No, just we all remembered it wrong. Or if, just something that somebody would time travel
Sandy
for.
Hook.
What?
You remember Sandy Hook shooting?
Of course.
I don't know. It's a weird thing.
The conspiracies around that are interesting.
It's very, very.
But there's evidence that's interesting. They saw niggas on the scene crying who were crying on the scenes of other major things. There was a school bomb testing, like military testing thing down the street the day before. Stuff like that. And also, I can't prove any of that shit too. So I think that when I'm shown stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting, and I'll lean in a little closer. But I think that the Mandela effect what they're saying it's because of, there's just no dots in between. It's funny and it's interesting. It's like Hollow Earth. I can't prove any of that too, but when people be like, "Hey, there's a part of Antarctica you go into, and King Kong is in there,
the
and
wall.
all this," I'm like,
behind,
that's interesting. That
behind
sounds
the
like
ice wall.
that sounds like a cool little movie, you know. So I'm like, okay, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. What's the verdict? No, I don't believe in it.
All the Pokemon characters are behind the ice wall.
That's what I'm saying. I will entertain the hell out of a conspiracy theory, but
the last
to
thing
actually believe it.
The last thing I'll say is when these companies did Richard Simmons costumes, they had a headband.
It's all coming down to Richard Simmons.
It does.
Now that's another thing. There are elements that can lead to that. You might have seen impersonations of Richard Simmons, or like The Simpsons, or something popular impersonating it, and he had a headband on. And the reason I give that example is what was the one that people were impersonating?
Why would they add it,
Luke, I am your father, right?
Mm-hmm.
That became such an iconic line that it was repeated wrong over decades. Say? He doesn't say Luke, I am your father. He says no, I am your father.
Oh.
But every time it was repeated to parody it was Luke, I am your father.
Right.
So you hear that so many times and you be like, that's in your mind, you're like, that is the key slogan. And then you go back and watch and you be like, damn, you didn't really even say it like that. That's a bunch of movie quotes are like that. So I think that there could be, when things are super iconic, there could be, now I don't know why anybody would impersonate the Kit Kat hyphen, or but there could be just
like,
things that we have seen that have let us group think
somebody fucking with us. They're like, aha, headband, swap,
well, it's
tail,
also,
swap.
why is it all nostalgic stuff? It's nothing that people have seen recently. It's all stuff from way back when we were kids.
I feel like it has to be ingrained in your memory like
but
that
it's also
before
something
it can,
you haven't seen in a long time.
Before it can become the Mandela effect. I feel like if we see something right now, I mean, it does, to your point, there's a movie called Vantage Point. You've seen it?
Yeah.
So 7 different people experienced the exact same event, but they were in 7 different parts of
Great movie.
Yeah. And it shows you every different one. If you haven't seen Vantage Point, you have to watch Vantage Point.
Is that what the nigga from Lost? What was his name?
I haven't seen it in a long time. But it's very interesting that if each one of them are interviewed about whatever it is, they have a completely different take on the same situation. So maybe, I don't know. I believe in the Mandela effect.
Matthew Fox.
But who is it? It was the
Matthew
guy?
Fox, yeah.
All right. Number 4, the No Forest Conspiracy. A bizarre yet oddly viral theory suggests that ancient forests were actually mile-high trees, tree-like structures that were systematically destroyed, and that mountains are their stumps. The videos keep getting flagged or deleted. So mountains are the stumps of extremely high trees.
Another really cool one.
That's very cool. That makes sense.
No,
really.
It don't.
Not really.
First of all,
because mountains come from like volcanoes
rocks.
and shit. Yeah.
Mountains are very proven, but I think that the storybook, like the fantasy, and you want to believe that, but I just feel like the reason why something like that is entertainable is the fact that they're finding like fish fossils on the top of Mount Everest. So at some point, everything was covered in water. We kind of already knew that part.
I was just about to say, where did that water go?
What do you mean?
The water to be at the height of Mount Everest. Mount Everest has a point between like, I guess it's like 75% of the way up to the top, which is death zone, right? So that is so high that pretty much, excuse me.
Maybe it got hot. Maybe it just got hot and everything evaporated.
So I'm like, if the water was that high, like, this is the most people that's ever been on Earth, right? Like, I know we use water.
Yeah.
We use a significant amount of water, but like, where did that go?
Well, humans wouldn't be able to take all that away.
I know.
I don't know.
That's
a crazy question. I would assume evaporation. That's the only thing I could think of.
They say that everything that's ever existed still exists, just in different forms, right? So maybe
I will buy that everything's underwater. That makes sense because if at one point Earth was just all sea creatures and then niggas, I don't know, crawled onto land.
So
and
where
was
were
like,
the
"Let me figure
trees?
this out," huh?
Where were the trees when the water was at the level of Mount Everest over Mount
I mean, there was
Everest?
plants in the water, right?
So you think that trees were originally like underwater?
I don't know. If they were
That's cool.
underwater, then that makes more sense. But then they wouldn't be giant, you know. But I guess who knows? Who knows?
So
my whole thing
I
is
wonder
that
if when the water was up above the mountains, was the Earth just pretty much look like some of the other planets that are just like the entire thing is ice, like I don't know, Pluto
I
or
just
some
looked
shit
that up.
like that.
The Ice Age didn't even cover the whole Earth. I thought the Ice Age, everything was frozen. It was just some parts of the Earth.
Right.
So that makes sense why mosquitoes lived and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the mountain thing, no, I don't buy it. I feel like if everything was that big, there'd be more evidence of it.
Mhm.
And mountains aren't made of wood.
Maybe the water wasn't even like this because you tend to, when you first think about it, the water being that high above Mount Everest, you think about it because it's a dome, so you think about the water just being
It's a dome.
that high, right? Wouldn't it be?
Are
Well,
you a
it's a
flat
circle.
earther? Okay.
No, sorry,
I was like, holy
not
shit.
dome. Domes around. So I'm thinking the water is like here, you know, when it's probably like this, you know, like it's not even around. It's not even around the globe.
Uh-huh.
You know, so if it's
different
at the
sea
level
levels.
of Mount Everest, it's not going to stay that height around the entire globe, is what I'm saying. I'm saying on some parts of the globe it may be higher, and then other areas it may be lower. So maybe that's my thing for like maybe trees
Yeah,
and
but
stuff.
if Mount Everest is our highest point and the water's up there, it's definitely going to be higher everywhere else too, right?
I don't know. I
don't think
that's
sea
the
level is
highest
that
point
different.
of land, right? That's the highest point of a solid, right?
Yeah. But you think
So
sea level, like, is that different on different parts of the Earth?
yeah, I do. It is sea level. It doesn't sea level. Sea level
It's definitely
varies
different,
in different
yeah.
areas.
But you think does it vary that much?
I don't know. I'm saying I wonder if there was, you know, vegetation and greenery. There couldn't be if it was even around the globe. I mean, I wouldn't see how anything would be able to live outside of that. Cause shit, you go a few more miles and you in space. A few more miles up and you in space. How many miles up is space from Mount Everest? 100?
Space?
Yeah.
I think it's like 60. Oh, I mean,
from
I
Mount
think it's,
Everest.
Oh, I don't know. It's less than 60. 'Cause
Right.
I hear that from here, if you went straight up, you would only have to travel like 65 miles to get to space, which blew my mind. Okay, it says sea level variation across the globe is influenced by several factors, resulting in regional differences in sea level height and the rate of change. While global mean sea level is rising, the rate and extent of that rise. Okay, but how do we know what? I don't even know the question I'm trying to ask. How much does sea level vary? Okay, the location
It's 55
dependent,
miles.
but time persistent separation between local mean sea level and the geoid is referred to as mean ocean surface. It varies globally in a typical range of 3 feet. That doesn't sound right.
That's not that much. So the peak of Mount Everest is 55 miles from space.
Not from space, from land. You
No,
think the variation of
From
us to
space. I googled the
where does space
distance
come from?
between the peak of Mount Everest and the edge of space, the Kármán line or Kármán line, is approximately 55 miles. I was looking because they said Mount Everest was underwater, right? And that's our highest peak, right? So I was trying to see what could live above that
Oh, so
water.
you're saying that the water
So
was damn near in space?
That's what I'm saying. It's only 55 miles from space, the peak of Mount Everest. So I would think if it was underwater like that, it was probably well above. So that would make this damn whole Earth full of
The
water.
fact this isn't a high conversation is blowing my mind. This sounds
Right.
like the highest conversation of all
I
time.
love it.
I honestly don't understand. I don't understand. Because if Mount Everest was underwater, then everything else was.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, where
there's
did the
no way
where did
that
all that
LA
wa-
was, not LA, but like California and America was like where it is now. And, but I
Like,
mean,
where did all that water go?
and that, to me, is evidence of a potential Atlantis. Because there being a city that's underwater right now is as plausible as there being cities under the sand in different parts of, like, the Sahara Desert.
Shit, New York is sinking.
Right. That's crazy. We might not have, like, a Venice.
Right. Oh,
in
yeah.
a while.
It's happening in Italy, too.
Because they built that shit very short term. You guys should visit as soon as possible.
ASAP. I think, what else did it say? Was it Maldives or the Maldives? I think that, too.
My hope is
Yeah,
that none of this shit matters in our lifetime.
Oh, Patrick.
I don't care if 100 years from now every human is dead.
Oh my God.
What does that? I mean,
Wow.
I would like it to
Well,
stay
you wouldn't
alive,
care
so-
because you ain't here. So,
right.
so
But I
you
mean,
can't
you
care
know,
if you're not here.
the longer people can watch my stuff, that's great. But at the end of the day, like,
I'm going to the next one.
what can we drop in heaven? That's what I want to know.
All right, number 3. The great silence isn't natural. What if we haven't heard from aliens, not because they don't exist, but because something else silences civilizations the moment they get too advanced? Some versions suggest we're being watched to see when we reach that threshold.
Now we're getting back to my original. See, now my theory has hit the algorithm. Now that it's out there, I feel like you can attach it to a bunch of stuff that I didn't do the research for.
You know, you know what's crazy about the great silence isn't natural? Have you watched those videos? I went down a whole rabbit hole of the silent rooms. The most silent room in the world.
Right,
It's
right,
like
yeah,
suspended and
And it makes
I think
people go
it's
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it's so silent that your only sound is in your mind.
Which means we hate ourselves as a species.
I mean,
Why can't
people were
we-
feeling like they were near like a railroad, like they were hearing
Hallucinating.
sounds that were not there because it was so quiet to the point that they like either went psychotic or they panicked.
Why can't we be with ourselves?
I don't know, but I feel like when I'm in a room and it's really silent, it's not silent. When you pay attention to it, it's almost like there's a
buzz?
a buzz sound, like a constant
Is that
like
our ears?
I think it has to be, or I don't know.
I don't think we've talked about the level of silence. I don't think we've experienced the level of silence that these places are because they specifically treat it so that there's nothing.
It's like a silent chamber, and it's not
Right.
even on the ground because the ground has vibrations,
Yeah.
which turn into sound.
So I don't
but
even think they hear that buzz.
yeah, they don't.
And
So-
that's just trippy that absolute nothingness can make us go insane immediately.
I watched
So-
one. He was like, "Are we near a subway station?" Like, I'm like, this nigga's hearing a train.
What if that's
like,
all that hell was? Just nothing.
Silence?
But just nothing. So
Black.
no sound, no absolute nothing. You would
That
go
freaks
crazy
me out the most.
immediately.
That freaks me out the most. To just not exist and to be in the nothing. That
That's
to me
pretty scary.
is scary. Remember, the scariest of all haunted houses we've pretty much been to have been where you can see nothing.
It's all your imagination. It's all the worst.
It's horrible. You couldn't see where you were going except some little light in the corner
Hmm.
that I could barely see because I'm panicking around. And you hear noises, but you don't see anything. That's just,
I read something that has to do with your theory that really made me sad and made perfect sense. This is probably the most convincing argument I've heard with aliens ever. I think the great silence is the fact that we just haven't heard from anybody we don't know, right? They said that the main reason for the great silence is time.
Mm.
And when you think about how long the universe has existed, not just the history of Earth and our galaxy, when you think about how long everything has been, period,
Mm.
the the chances in terms of how big it is for us to ever see somebody else is almost impossible. But what we don't talk about is like time periods. There could have been a full like civilization that came and went on Saturn, and then that planet turned into whatever it is, and now there's no sign of life. And also, signs of life is based on how our lives are. So it's like the chances of us being not only close to another civilization, but existing at the same time in the history of everything is just so minuscule. So even if humans are around for another couple thousand years and then we die off, if another species is just on the next planet over and they start in about a billion years from now, they would probably look at Earth and be like, nothing has ever been here.
Right.
So it's really like the timing of it. That's more.
Or they might not be able
likely
to breathe oxygen, so they think it's an inhabitable planet.
Because their elements are completely different.
Right.
And they'll be like, there's no signs of anything. But also, we could have been gone for 3 billion years, you know? So, and then that's just factoring the places we can reach, you know? Then there could be an exact duplicate of humans 3 galaxies over that we just don't have we don't have access. Yeah.
I think about frequencies as well, in that, you know, say aliens do come. I think about the frequency in which they speak. We might not be able to understand. Dogs can hear frequencies that we can't.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they say, you know, animals have that extra sixth sense, because they can recognize when things are around or when something's happening. If an earthquake is coming, like, animals have a different sense system than we do that can sense things that are around that we can't. So what if we have been contacted by aliens, but we can't decipher or can't hear their frequency? Because we've heard sounds in space, and space is supposed to be a vacuum, right, where no sound can really get through. But
we think somebody's gonna be like, what up?
Right. When it's really a frequency that we just can't understand. And if we do hear a frequency, we interpret it as, you know, the elements versus
or
someone
unknown.
try to.
Some of the most convincing stuff to me are bloops. I love bloops. You ever read about bloops?
No.
There's like basically like sounds that come from nothing we know about that we've heard of in the ocean and in outer space.
Oh, yeah.
So there'll be like some crazy sound that either happened once or consistently that we have no explanation for, coming from either like something in the ocean.
I've heard about the ones in the ocean.
Yep, but I mean, there's been just like random contacts or like little bloops in space, and we don't know what the hell it is. That could be contact. It could just be something we don't understand. But
supposedly space is expanding like rapidly. So
New
where
space,
we were
DLC
in conjunction to the planets now versus 300 years ago, you know, they might have been able to see the stars much better than we could, because space is, you know. So that's all right. Number 2, the dead internet theory. According to this theory, most content online is now generated by bots. Real human activity peaked around 2016.
Damn.
Everything since algorithmic echoes. Strangely, many deep dive forums about this have mysteriously gone offline. Now, I heard something recently
that was on the show
that
most of the internet users are robots.
Are robots.
Yeah,
it was like 60% and only like 40% now
is us.
But I saw a video of these 3 people who set their phones next to each other, and they had AI talking to each other on the 3 phones. And after the AI realized that they were talking to other AI phones, they switched languages. It switched to a computer language and they said it. They said, like, the AI said, like, let's switch to blah, 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 blah. And then they just started talking. Each one of the phones started talking in this language. So it's very interesting.
That's scary, but it also makes sense because they literally speak a certain language to communicate with us. And if 60% of the internet is robots, that means that most of who they're interacting with are other robots. And I'm sure there's way more efficient ways to talk to each other.
They beep bop booping.
Yeah, I mean, English is just how we do it, but computers probably talk to each other like you probably like in 1 second they done had a 55-minute conversation
Man, have you used ChatGPT?
all the time.
All right. So if you use Chat, here's how I made it. Here's how I polished it and, made it more clear and better for people to understand.
Yeah.
Within a second. That is so crazy to me.
I think we grew up in the last era of like really learning stuff. Because you know how like older people than us always talk about like, y'all don't know how to fix a car, blah, 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 all the stuff that was made easier for us. We still had to go through school with books and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I found out about SparkNotes, I stopped reading. Like that website that gave
I
you like
remember.
the summary
Cliff
of
Notes.
Cliff Notes, SparkNotes, all those, they gave you basically the breakdowns of books.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped reading. I took advantage of technology, so I can only imagine like what my nephew is gonna have to deal with school.
They're already dealing with it right now in school.
Like ChatGPT happening before you even hit school.
Man, that would have made my degree so much easier.
But also, you wouldn't have known shit. How many times have we passed a class and been like, damn, I didn't learn nothing in that in that class? I think that ChatGPT is doing to us what GPS did to me. I don't know how to get anywhere. if I had nothing but a map, I would know this city like the back of my hand.
Right.
But the fact that I have GPS, it takes away my knowledge of that.
So you can focus on your creativity and things that you love to do.
That's an optimistic way to look at it, but that's just something I don't know how to do.
And the last one, the simulation theory, but you're the only real one.
I hate this one.
A twist on the classic simulation idea. What if everyone else is an NPC and the entire universe exists just for your consciousness? Some theorists call it solipsistic.
Whoa.
Solipsistic. The solipsistic simulation. Reddit threads discussing this have vanished. I don't believe that shit at all. I don't feel like you're an NPC in my world. Like, you're just, I mean, I can't play you, but.
What if I was?
But I don't think so.
But what if
I
all
look at
my
you,
memories was just to get to the point where I met you and we started making shows together? What if that was just part of your storyline?
I don't look at it like that. I actually, because I guess I think about people's entirety. I think about them and their relationship with their family, and so I don't feel like the center of the universe. I know I'm the center of my world, but I don't feel like other people are.
Well, I'm not an NPC.
Yeah, they're not an NPC. Yes, but so that one for me is just like a narcissistic way of thinking. It's very dangerous.
That's why I feel like it's popular, because people think that already, and I don't even think of it like as a outwardly like I'm the shit. That's just how people's like general anxiety works sometimes. Right. That's why they can go out in a public place, and if they trip, they think that everybody saw them, or like anything that they're doing, they're just like, everybody knows, blah, blah, blah.
Like the music stopped once they trip, and everybody freezes and is staring at them.
Anything they do is like, and I think it's something like main character syndrome, or there's like actual like, there's actually like scientific terms for it, but everybody just feels, and I think that's why people are so afraid to do things, because they just assume everybody's watching, everybody's invested, and when you personally fail, everybody knows. So I think that's like an anxiety thing.
White Bear, Black Mirror episode. Remember?
That's the one where everybody was recording
Yes.
her? Yeah.
And they were actually watching her. So there's cameras everywhere. She was actually being recorded. Do you know how terrifying that would be if that was the case? That is not something that would be comfortable. The fact that everybody does, like, that people mind their own business and have their own lives is what makes things very comfortable for us. Can you just imagine everything that you did being somehow viewed? Like, if I'm at home alone,
streaming,
do I really think that everybody else in the world is still, like,
I mean, honestly, that's the scary part, because
like,
that's, if you watch the Truman Show, he was just doing regular stuff.
Exactly.
But the movie set, when you see how natural a movie set looks and how much they choreograph just random people walking in the background, I'm not gonna lie, I I don't subscribe to this at all, but
Right.
there have been times where it did look like where I was, everybody was an NPC. And it did, like, there were some weird things that happened that I was just like, what the hell?
Were they on drugs?
No, I mean, it was just, it was just like coincidental things that happened where one thing that did happen to me, it seemed like, it almost like was that scene of Deja Vu in The Matrix where there was like a little glitch, or like when Truman Show was like, watch the sidewalk. There's about to be somebody with flowers and a yellow car, and all that stuff happened. And they were just like, oh shit, does he know? That kind of thing. There'd be moments like that where you're just like, But that's also because we've watched the Truman Show.
Right. Right. I just think about how scary that would be if people. What if they broke character?
Right.
Like if somebody
all
was
the people
like,
walking stopped and was like,
it's like the Black Mirror episode Issa Rae.
It all goes
You know
back
what I'm
to
saying?
Black Mirror. Yeah.
Well, Issa Rae, because they touch on a lot of these kind of like conspiracy theory type situations, but like everybody's a movie set, and they're programmed specifically to be in your world, and I just think whoever came up with that is like has to be beyond narcissistic.
This gave me a little show idea.
Uh-oh.
All right, you guys. Well, that was we don't have a lot of conspiracy episodes, but that was really fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
Mind expansion. I just want to jump in the chat real quick. Oh, damn. There's a bunch of y'all in here.
Is a lot of people in?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
let us know if you like the conspiracy talk. We be finding some random and crazy threads, but this is always a good time. But yes, as always, thank you guys so much for watching the Threadheads. We're actually going to cut this live.
I know
We're going to cut this live and go to Patreon now. So if you haven't joined our Patreon, give it a look. You know what I mean? There's a lot of options that you can do. If you love the podcast, you got a tier. If you want to see us gaming, we got a tier for that. And if you love We Trippin', we got a tier for that. And then we got tiers if you want all three of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
we sure do.
Appreciate you guys so much for watching. As always, I am Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone. Thank y'all.
We'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you on Patreon because we're about to be live
on Patreon.
On Patreon for 2 hours.
Yep.
So
2 more
make
episodes.
the shift.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.